I got quite interested for various reasons. There was, if you remember, there was the Festival of Britain.
Why would a man who stood beside the Queen for over 70 years suddenly vanish from her side in his final years? It wasn't a scandal, at least not officially, but something didn't add up. And now, years later, the silence has finally shattered. Not from a tabloid, not from a leaked memo, but from Queen Camilla herself.
I can't remember anybody except the Queen being there.
And what she said changes everything. On the surface, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip seemed like the ultimate royal partnership. Stoic, strong, unshakable. Their marriage, born in the ruins of World War II, was supposed to be the anchor of the modern monarchy. But behind the palace walls, another story was quietly unfolding. A story that spanned decades. A story that, until recently, no one dared to tell. Prince Philip was no ordinary royal. He was a man forged in chaos, born in Greece, exiled from his homeland, and shaped by the brutal hand of war. When he married Elizabeth in 1947, he gave up his naval career, his surname, and, arguably, a piece of his identity. And in 1952, when Elizabeth became queen, Philip's world shifted forever. He went from commander to consort, forever 2 steps behind, literally. And it ate at him. They called it duty. They called it tradition. But what if it was something else? By the 1950s, those closest to the family began noticing Philip's subtle disappearances. Extended stays at distant estates, periods of absence from public duties. One place in particular became his escape. Wood Farm, a modest residence on the Sandringham Estate. There, away from the gold-framed portraits and velvet-lined protocols, Philip found peace. He read, he painted, he cooked his own meals. He was normal, but the world never saw this side. Until Camilla spoke. In a quiet moment at Clarence House in early 2025, Queen Camilla revealed a truth buried for years. A truth that left royal insiders stunned. And yet, it made perfect sense. It wasn't that he left her, Camilla reportedly said. It was that he needed to breathe. 6 words. That's all it took to shift public memory of Prince Philip. According to Camilla, Philip's withdrawal was never about walking away from the Queen. It was about preserving their love, about protecting a man who had spent decades being everything but himself. For years, people whispered, "Why isn't he with her?" Camilla answered, "Because love, even royal love, needs space to survive." Imagine the weight of a title that never felt like your own. The feeling of constantly being watched, corrected, placed in ceremonial boxes, while your real self quietly eroded. Is it really so surprising that one day he stepped away? Camilla's revelation was not shouted from the palace balcony. It came quietly, and maybe that's why it mattered. It felt real. Philip's retreat to Wood Farm, once framed as cold or distant, suddenly looked like an act of quiet rebellion, a personal ceasefire, a final effort to reclaim his name, his space, his peace. Even Camilla, often a figure of controversy herself, acknowledged that she understood. She too had lived through the cold winds of public opinion. She too had been reshaped by royal expectations. And in Philip's story, she saw something deeper. Humanity. Let's be honest, the royal family has never been known for emotional transparency. For centuries, their motto might as well have been, "Never explain, never complain." But what happens to the soul under that kind of silence? Camilla's words suggested that Philip, despite his composed exterior, was deeply affected by the life he had to live. That behind the sharp suits and ceremonial swords was a man who longed for a fireplace without flashbulbs, a dinner without formality, a life with just less. So he chose to fade from the frame. Not in disgrace, not in conflict, but in quiet resolve. One of the most compelling parts of Camilla's insight was what it revealed about the Queen herself. She didn't stop Philip. She didn't call him back. She let him go because she understood. Their marriage, Camilla said, evolved over time. Not toward conventional togetherness, but toward mutual respect for distance. A new kind of love, one without expectations, without demands. Ask yourself, would you let the person you love walk away if it meant saving the relationship? Could this be the greatest show of love the monarchy ever hid? When Camilla's remarks became public, they didn't cause scandal. They caused reflection. The public didn't erupt in outrage. Instead, there was a kind of stunned silence, followed by a slow nod. Across social media, Prince Philip truth trended. Even royal commentators, usually skeptical, called her statement a rare act of emotional clarity. And the palace? Dead silent. No statement, no denial, just quiet acceptance. Was this the moment the monarchy began showing its human side? Philip's story isn't the first time duty clashed with identity inside the royal family. From Edward VIII's abdication in 1936 to Diana's heart-wrenching interviews in the 90s, and most recently, Harry and Meghan's royal exit, there's a pattern. A slow, painful tug-of-war between personal truth and public tradition. And now, Camilla has added another chapter. Not one of drama or scandal, but of revelation. Philip's withdrawal now sits not as a footnote, but as a profound message that even at the heart of the crown, people break. And sometimes, stepping away is the only way to stay whole. For most of his life, Prince Philip was seen as a pillar of duty, but Camilla's voice reminded us, pillars crack, and when they do, it's not weakness, it's human. Philip didn't leave the Queen, he left the noise, and in doing so, he may have left behind one of the most honest royal legacies in modern history. Not of perfection, but of survival, of love that chose space, of silence that spoke volumes, and of a man who dared to whisper enough in a world that demands more. So now the question falls to us. Was Prince Philip's retreat a quiet collapse, or a brave stand for identity? Was it an ending, or a new beginning? And how many more truths lie behind palace walls, waiting for someone to finally speak? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If this story made you see Prince Philip in a new light, hit that like button. And if you want more true stories from behind the velvet curtain, subscribe to Decade Legend and turn on notifications. There's more truth to tell. And we're just getting started.